Shalom, giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power Yahweh, Bahasham Yahweh Shah, Bahasham Wadash of our honors, the apostles, the bishops, and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and blessings to the whole footprint of the tabernacles of David, scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, wherever you may be. Wherever you may be, to you I say Shalom, Yeshua, Shalom. All right, we're in the book of Joshua, chapter 7. It's a pretty short chapter and straightforward. Um, but as a matter of fact, before we get into it, let me go back here because I mentioned something in the last session there that I need to correct. As a matter of fact, let me back up to the chapter. All right. And so because this is the conquest of Jericho in this last chapter, chapter 6, and we were talking about, the defeat and destruction of the city of Jericho. All right. And I mentioned it's probably somewhere at the end, but I mentioned that Jericho was never built up again. All right. Because in my excitement reading, what I was reading. All right. But because in actuality Jericho was built up again. Okay, and matter of fact, there's actually, even when you want to get modern day, there's still people that live in that particular area. All right, what I was referring to really is just that particular city, Jericho itself, as in it was, and so on and so forth. But nonetheless, I still want to correct that so it can be clear and understood. What's proper. Um, and so let me read verse probably down below. Yep, right around here, I believe, around this area, maybe a little lower. Actually, it's probably to the end. We could have read down, but to the end, just get the point. So it says, and Joshua adjured them at that time, saying, "Cursed be the men before Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai, that riseth up and buildeth this city Jericho. He shall lay the foundation thereof. In his firstborn and in his youngest son shall he set up the gates of it." All right, in which that was fulfilled, all right, as a curse. I'm not sure if it bring the precept up, but it should be like First Kings, I believe, 17th chapter. But as a matter of fact, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we can't just get it here. And if not, then to 16. Okay, that might be at 16. Yep, 16:34. Yep, it's got to be it. What happened? Oh yeah, I forget. So, yep. No, wait. Yep. That should be it. Yep. 16, 1 Kings 16:34. So it says, in his days did Hiel, how do you pronounce it? Hiel, the Bethelite, Bethelite, all right, build Jericho. He laid the foundation thereof in Abiram, his firstborn, and set up the gates thereof in his youngest son, Segub, or Segub, however you pronounce it, according to the word of the Lord Yahweh, which he spake by Joshua the son of Nun. All right, so that was a prophecy fulfilled. All right, this guy, Hael, all right, did attempt to build that city Jericho, and he lost his two sons. And that was the last verse in this particular chapter, 1 Kings 16:34. All right. So I want to clarify that because I was speaking of that particular city, Jericho, how it was, the huge walls and, the huge tall walls with the thick walls and, the city as it was, but not in particular speaking on the area. All right. But to add on to that, all right, this was not known before. All right. Speaking about the actual land though itself. So as you see, it was rebuilt and that prophecy was fulfilled. Whoever attempt to build the city would be cursed, and the penalty for that curse would be sons. All right. And this guy Hiel, all right, the Bethelite, all right, paid that price. Okay. As a matter of fact, while I'm here, I'm interested in what their names mean. Hiel, Chaya Allah, God lives. And native of Bethel will rebuild Jericho in the reign of Ahab, and in whom was fulfilled the curse pronounced by Joshua. Yep. And Bethel would be Bayath Allah, all right, because Bayath Allah. So I guess house of God or house of the power, something like that. Where is Abiram? Here it is, right here. See what Abiram says. All right, Abayaram, Abayaram. My father is exalted. Which okay, I don't know what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking actually similar to the pronunciation is similar to that of Abraham, right? Which that makes sense. Um, oh, what happened? I went all the way back. I didn't mean to. I think I double tapped. What happened there? I don't even know where I am. Joshua. Okay, this cross reference. Here it is. Get back down there. And I want to get the other son, Segu, however you pronounce it, before we move on. Shagawab, meaning exalted, the youngest son of Heel, the Bethelite, who rebuilt Jericho. All right, so, and that's pretty much all I wanted to do, make that correction there. So it is understood that this was an attempt, okay, or not that in particular, but in Kings, all right, there was an attempt to rebuild that particular city, Jericho, in the ancient times, and Heel paid that price for it with his son, okay. Um, and once again, even in modern days, you have people living in those general areas, all right. So, like I said, I was referring to that actual city as in it was, but still, just to correct the whole thing, all right. So, everything's in proper order and proper understanding. So, let's get back to Joshua 7. All right, and get into this chapter here. Straightforward chapter. So Joshua 7:1 says, "But the children of Israel committed a trespass in the accursed thing." As a matter of fact, let's go back real quick. Because if you go to a previous button, all right, and let me find somewhere down here. Yeah, it goes early. Okay. Really the point is in 18. Well, you know what? Let's start at 17. Get 17, 18, 19. It says, "And the city shall be accursed." All right. It was set for destruction, right? It says, "Even it and all that are therein, to the Lord Yahweh, only Rahab the harlot shall live, she and all that uh, she and all that are with her in the house, because she hid the messengers that we sent." Okay. It says, "And ye in any wise keep yourselves from the cursed thing, lest ye make yourselves a curse." And let me get the word, because we went into this before. All right, the word is haram. All right, haram in the Hebrew. Okay, to exterminate, completely destroy. So there you go. All right. So, and he meant that not only for the city, but also for the people. Because remember, it says destroy the people, men, women, children, cattle, all those things. So it says, "When you take of the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it." All right, so keep yourselves from it. Okay, lest you make yourselves accursed when you take of the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. And that's important, because the Lord deals with, you know, uh, you know, people in whole. All right. In this particular manner, we're talking about the Israelites. Okay, and so it's like when the Lord is dealing with us, He's dealing with us. When the Lord is against us, He's against us. All right, and so, and this is something I mention often. Right, you'll hear sometimes the prophets say that we sin. Now, it doesn't mean that they never had sin in their whole entire life, but it'd be a particular matter where they did nothing wrong. Okay, but they'll still be praying to the Lord and say that we sin, because they understood. All right, they may not have done nothing wrong in that particular matter, but they're not innocent for anything either. And the Lord will punish Israel as a whole, like in what's going on here, right? So it says, verse 18, yeah, and ye in any wise keep yourselves from the accursed thing, lest ye make yourselves accursed when you take of the accursed thing and make the camp of Israel a curse and trouble it. But all the silver and gold and vessels and brass of iron are consecrated unto the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. They shall come into the treasury of the Lord Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. All right. So as you go to back to the not the previous chapter, but when you go to the next chapter, right? So it's not so much as the gold, okay? Because as a matter of fact, let's do this. Like I said, it's a straightforward chapter. Maybe we'll read it in the NLT. I'm not sure. Uh, maybe the NLT. You know what? Let's just roll with the KJV. I was gonna read in the NLT, but let's just roll with the KJV. Right. So when you get into the chapter, it says, "But the children of Israel committed a trespass." No, well, there you go, right there. The point I was just making. It says the children of Israel committed a trespass. But as you read into the chapter, you're gonna find out it wasn't a group session here. This wasn't a group thing that happened. All right, but let's keep going. Okay, in the accursed thing, for Achan, the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah, of the tribe of Judah, took of the accursed thing, and the anger of the Lord Yahweh was kindled against the children of Israel. You see, against all the children of Israel. Okay, because of one man's disobedience. Right. So it says, and Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. It's loud here. The truck's kind of loud. It says, and Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went up and viewed Ai. All right, now, let's see if we can map some of these areas here so we can get a general location of where we are now. Bayath, Awan, and House of Vanity. Wow, House of Vanity. So that word Ayan, I guess, is vanity, has to be. Trouble, wickedness, sorrow, idolatry. Wow, trouble of iniquity, wickedness. Yep, and Bayath, of course, is house. Be sure we're all familiar with that word. Bayath, Awan. All right. So, oh, yep. Beth Haven. Okay, actually, we don't need to pull up because obviously right here says a city east of Bethel, site unknown. So we're not going to get anything out of that. No need to even try. And this probably is a different whole other word. Okay, same thing. So Beth Haven, so maybe Bethel, possibly. Right, as we just mentioned. Right, house of God, house of the power, ancient place and seat of worship in Ephraim on border of Benjamin, identified with Luz, former name. Okay, so oh, I got more than I wanted there. Trying to grab my dot. There you go. Yeah, we're gonna web search it. So in the book of Judges 1:22, the descendants of Joseph captured the city of Bethel, which again is said to have previously been called Luz. All right, is that it? Yep. What else is right here? Jerusalem, Bethel. So actually, that's a good one too, because well, pretty much the same, but kind of points out a little bit better. There's a little highlight with it, so you see where the saying Bethel is supposed to be. All right, which there's a Beth. Come on, this thing that's with me. Beth. How was it? A one. All right, if you can kind of see it, the yellow line is kind of crossed over it. Also with that red line crossing over it as well. That's supposed to be that, and it did. What did it say? The east. I have to go back and double check because I believe it says on the east there. Um, but just general location because some, like I said, a lot of times these scholars don't really know exactly where a place is. They have a marker there, right? Like this is the place, and then sometimes they have a marker there, but they don't actually have a question mark beside it because they're not fully sure. Okay, if that's the place, they believe it's the location, but they're not fully sure. Um, yeah, it says on the border of Benjamin. There, we have to go back to that. It says on the border of Benjamin, identified with Luz. Let me go back to this again. Okay, yeah. Just making sure that we're giving us the right map. All right. Walking over here. Give me some shade here. Okay. Actually, this might not work. Just bear with me. Trying to get some shade. Okay. You might just do this. We're gonna get back on with the chapter. Just do this right here. All right. So, um, Yep. So that's the border of Benjamin there. All right. Bethlehem. So, all right. So like I said, just kind of generalizing a location there. Not really important, but it's just something that I like to do. Okay. When there's different names mentioned. All right. I like to map where we are, map, the different journeys there. Because mind you, well, yeah, that's probably the best. But you can see it there, excuse me. That big body water is the Dead Sea, the line going straight up from out of it. That's the Jordan. And mind you, we came across the Jordan. Okay. And at that time, that was part of like Moab and, I believe like Ammon was, in that general portion there. In particular Moab though. All right. So you kind of get it there. Yep, and Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Beth Haven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men, excuse me. Actually, I think I skipped. I don't think I finished the first scripture, did I? Oh yeah, yeah, I believe I did. All right. Oh, but I wanted to make a point though, since I did go back. It says, "In the anger of the Lord was kindled against the children of Israel," and I just wanted to give you a book example of that, which I pull from time to time in Daniel chapter 9. It says, And I set my face unto the Lord power to seek by prayer and supplications with fasting and sackcloth and ashes. And I prayed unto the Lord Yahweh my power, and made my confession, and said, O Lord, the great and dreadful power, keeping the covenant and mercy to them that love him, and to them that keep his commandments. We have sinned. All right, that was the point that I was making earlier. We have sinned. All right, they weren't leaving themselves out of anything. Now, of course, in this particular case, he's referring to before the Babylonians came, all right, and took them down, all right, because remember, you had prophets prophesying. One of those was Jeremiah, okay, saying that they do this, this, and this, and this, all right, and but if you don't, the Babylonians are coming, and they mocked and scoffed at Jeremiah. They wanted to kill Jeremiah, so on and so forth. Okay, so we don't really know exactly what Daniel and his companions was getting into before that time. But like I said, these prophets, though they were prophets, they would never leave themselves out because they're not innocent either. Right? We have sinned and have committed iniquity and have done wickedly and have rebelled, even by departing from thy precepts and from thy judgment. There you go. Once again, some of that history you can read about in the book of Jeremiah. Um, yeah, we already read the other verse there from Joshua 6. So that goes together perfect. So it says, And Joshua sent men from Jericho to Ai, which is beside Bethaven, on the east side of Bethel, and spake unto them, saying, Go up and view the country. And the men went and viewed Ai. Right? So it says, And they returned to Joshua and said unto him, Let not all the people go up, but let about 2,000 or 3,000 men go up and smite Ai, and make not all the people to labor thither, for they are but few. So the men that he sent was like, Hey, these guys, they don't have the numbers for us, all right? They got nothing against us. You don't need to send everybody out, all right? The whole army out. Just send a handful of us, all right? And we'll do the job, okay? But mind you, what we read about in the last chapter there, all right? So, and this is very important. And it was meant to be this way, all right? So it says, So there went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And see, and there you go right there. You jump right into it, all right? And so there went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. See? It says, and the men of Ai smote of them about 30 and 6 men, for they chased them from before the gate, even unto Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. All right, so, and it could have been a bigger, a number of casualty, right? But this was a warning, all right. Um, Going back, really, it wasn't a whole thing, but the Lord says that Israel sinned because of what the one man did. But we'll get into it as the chapter reads on. So it says Shabaram. I'm sorry, Shabarium. All right, the breaches, one of the points in the flight from Ai, and I'm not sure if they'll pop up on the map. Look, even with I, see how what I mean? A market, but a question mark. So that's why you kind of take these particular sites with a grain of salt from these maps. Sometimes they'll be on point. Sometimes they just don't know, and then sometimes they'll be like the maybe, which is where the question mark comes in at. But it's all good. So it says, so they went up thither of the people about 3,000 men, and they fled before the men of Ai. And the men of Ai smote of them about 36 men for they chased them from before the gate, even Shebarim, or Shebarim, and smote them in the going down. Wherefore the hearts of the people melted and became as water. All right, I mean they were, pretty much just a way to say that they were afraid. Okay, because mind you, the Lord is telling us to go and take these lands, these lands here that these Canaanites live in. All right, this is going to be your land, and I want you to go and take it by war. But then you go out to a battle and you lose. See, to dissolve, to melt, to waste away, to vanish, so on and so forth, to faint, grow fearful, right, and became as water. So it says, and Joshua rent his clothes and fell to the earth upon his face before the ark of the Lord Yahweh until the eventide, he and the elders of Israel, and put dust upon their heads, right, which was dust was just an ancient custom that we did, uh, kind of really expressing like a deep mourning state, or because they'll speak about they'll rip their clothes and what they say rip the clothes and throw ashes on their head, something like that. Just saying like this, throwing dust on their head is no different, all right? Just showing and it's not always like a mourning state, but you get. I'm trying to think of the right word. I'm looking for it, but I think you kind of get the point there. As a matter of fact, no, I'm not gonna go. I was gonna go into the commentary, but it ain't necessary. Me go into the commentary because what's understood there is kind of straightforward. All right, it says that the elders of Israel and put dust upon their heads. Right, pretty much they're just crying out before the Lord. Probably feeling shame, feeling hurt. All right. So Joshua said, "Alas, O Lord Yahweh, wherefore hast thou at all brought this people over Jordan to deliver us into the hand of the Amorites?" And I mentioned that before, earlier on. All right, as we go into the lands of Canaan, a lot of these battles that we fight against are against those Amorites, man. Okay, basically they all go back to the line of Ham, which are the Africans, man. Goes to show you, once again, just through the scripture, you understand that these so-called black people ain't African, man. They meant your people, okay? Because a lot of people like to hold on to Africa and Kemet and all that kind of nonsense. But they meant your people. If you African, you African. But if you're not, okay, those ain't your people, right? And you actually fought against them to take them out of their land, to take the lands that were already promised that belong to us, okay? But anyways, it says, into the hand of the Amorites to destroy us. Would to God we had been content and dwelt on the other side of Jordan. So they're basically crying out like, man, we went to battle. You said we want to go take these lands over. We went into battle. They killed some of us. So we basically lost this battle. All right. Now everybody's crying out, dust on their head and everything else. And it would have been better if we would just dwell on the other side of Jordan. Okay. And this is a reflection of sort of like the old bunch that came out of Egypt, man, the complaining bunch. The Lord would do this for them and do that, and then they'll complain some more, and so on and so forth. All right, they kept doing the same thing over and over and over. So they quickly forgot what the Lord had already said and commanded. All right, that you are going to take these lands. All right, because they lost this battle. All right, they've already gotten distressed, but you know, uh, they obviously didn't know what it was about, and that's what this chapter is going into. Why they lost the battle for one man's disobedience. So it says, "Would to God we have been content and dwelt on the other side Jordan. O Lord, what shall I say when Israel turneth their backs before their enemies?" All right, which even you can go into the curses, man. Deuteronomy 28. And that's we'll jump back up in a second. Deuteronomy 28 and 25. The Lord Yahweh shall cause thee to be smitten before thy enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Now, this is more of a overall scattering of us. but just to make the point of us fleeing from our enemies. All right, but why is that? Let me go up to verse 14. It says, "And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them." Now, once again, this is a different portion of, history, the point of history that we talked about. But that first half there, right? Don't go to the right hand or to the left. And in particular, the Lord gave particular orders of what to do when you went in this city and what not to do, and so on and so forth. And a guy got greedy, okay, from what he was seeing, and this is what brought sin upon the nation of Israel, because one man didn't listen, but it was still seen as Israel's sin, right? So when you go on to verse 9, it says, "For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land shall hear," and as I just mentioned the Canaanites, right? "All the inhabitants of the land shall hear of it, and shall environ us around," all right? Basically meaning to just, circle around us, all right? Encompass or circle around us, all right? It says, "And cut off our name from the earth, and what wilt thou do unto thy great name?" Okay, so and basically what he's saying is, hey, if they do this to us, all right, how is it going to make you look? Okay, because you're the God, you're the God of everything, right? You're the living God. Everybody's heard what you did, for us to the Egyptians, right? Everybody heard what you did for us to Pharaoh and his army, okay? And the other battles that were fought, all right? Uh, uh, everybody heard about Sihon and Og. So your name is famous, and because of you've done these things for us, we've also become famous. But if they destroy us, how is it going to make your name look? They're going to turn around and say, "Hey, this God of these Israelites is not so mighty now, after all right? He's not so powerful. You see, we defeated his people, and so on and so forth, and da 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 da." They'll just keep on going on, and basically they'll be mocking the Lord, right? So it says, "And what wilt thou do unto thy great name?" Verse 10 says, "And the Lord Yahweh said unto Joshua, Get thee up. Wherefore liest thou thus upon thy face?" So the Lord basically said to Joshua, "Man, get your ass up, man. The hell are you doing?" Okay, this is not an innocent matter. I'm finna break down to you what's going on. All right, why this happened. So it says, "Israel had sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them." See, for they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. All right, and dissembled, all right, pretty much lying, all right, falsely or something like. Let me just get it, okay? Yeah, there's the word kachash, right? Kachash, all right. See, to deceive, lie, fail, grow lean, be disappointed, be untrue, right? Deal falsely, to cringe, to act deceptively. Yeah, because the guy took, what he wasn't supposed to take, and then he brought it back and he hid it. Okay, thinking that he was going to get away with it, just going to hide it under his tent. And I guess when I don't know when they got up and moved to a new location, he was going to pull up his tent, pull that from under the tent, and just just roll on with it. All right, and no one never know. All right, but the Most High knew. Right, because obviously because he sees all things. Right. So it says, yeah, Israel had sinned, and they have also transgressed my covenant which I commanded them, for they have even taken of the accursed thing, and have also stolen and dissembled also, and they have put it even among their own stuff. All right. So notice how it's saying they. All right, dealing with us as a whole, but it was one man. All right, and check out how, because what goes down. It says, "Therefore the children of Israel could not stand before their enemies, but turned their backs before their enemies, because they were accursed. Neither will I be with you anymore, except ye destroy the accursed from among you." See? So, and that's what I mentioned earlier, man. When the Lord is with us, oh boy, he's with us. All right. You better step out the way. Okay. But when he's not with us, all right, for whatever reason, hey, that's a sign to the enemies, because they understood that, especially Esau. It's a sign to the enemies that, hey, we could come and really rough these people up. All right, we can make mockery of the Lord's people, and there's nothing that they can do about it, because their power is not with them, because they transgressed against them. And see, Esau, he's taking that, because the scriptures talk about how he accomplished a diligent search. So he's taking that in these modern days find out what destroys us through the scriptures, right? And he's taking those things and he utilizes and weaponizes all those things against us. And there's even some things that we can't even fight against, all right? Where we break laws because of Esau. Like brothers always talk about, from time to time, clothing, man. We can't do anything about clothing. But Esau knows these things. We now have the knowledge of these things, but yet we can't do anything about it. You see? And so he takes these things because it affects your spirit, and then also you sin against the Lord, and all these different things. He'll put pork in certain things and not even put it on a label, and yeah, wicked. Trying to find out how to destroy us. Hey, one of the most basic things, all right, movies and music and things of that nature. He put the worst of us. All right, he put the Beyonces and the Nicki Minaj's and the all these stocks and whores and baby daddies and the worst of our bunch, all right, in front of our faces, okay, and have our people getting taken away with that, all right. So he's figured out how to destroy us, and he's utilizing every avenue that he can to constantly keep us in a state of a so-called state, of sin, because he has a hopes of us never returning to the Lord, so that he can uh, 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 superficially take over the birthright, which it's not yours, man. Okay, the Lord was there then. When you sold, or your forefather Esau sold his birthright, it's not coming back, man. It's gone. All right, you're not getting it. Okay, it's over. All right, there's no way that you're going to get the birthright back. But you get the point. Um, Continuing on at I think we read all of that. Yeah, verse 13. Up, sanctify the people, and say, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow. For thus saith the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, there is an accursed thing in the midst of thee. O Israel, thou canst not stand before thine enemies until you take away the accursed thing from among you. And this dude had to be afraid, man. Okay, because he probably didn't tell any of his family. All right, you hear what's said about tomorrow, sanctify yourselves, because we got business to handle tomorrow. All right, and I'm pretty sure he had to know it was him, or maybe he didn't, because hey, then again, he did think that he was getting away with it, and he hit it or whatever. So possibly, maybe he didn't know. Okay, because if he did know, man, I'm pretty sure he didn't get any sleep that night. All right, but let's keep going. Let's get the account, because what we're about to go into is a process of elimination here. Right. So it says, in the morning, in the morning, therefore, ye shall be brought according to your tribes. Right, there's 12 tribes of Israel. Okay. So it says, and it shall be. All right, and then this is basically the breaking down of the process of elimination, and then we're going to get into the actual process. And it shall be that the tribe which the Lord Yahweh taketh shall come according to the families thereof, and the family which the Lord Yahweh shall take shall come by households, and the household which Yahweh shall take shall come man by man. Because we mentioned this before, like you have like a family tree, right? So you have the tribe of Judah, all right, so-called Negroes, and then amongst the Negroes, you have all these different, branch off families, all right. And each of those families, that's where you get all these family trees from, right? So it's family by family by family, and then all the way down to man, man by man. Okay, so yeah, and then that's how he's gonna single everything out. Okay, through the process of elimination. All right, it's a beautiful process to see it done that way. And well, let's just get down to it. So it says, and it shall be that the tribe which the Lord Yahweh taketh shall come according to the families thereof, and the family which the Lord Yahweh shall take shall come by households, and the household which Yahweh shall take shall come man by man. And it shall be that he that is taken with the accursed thing shall be burnt with fire. And that's why I mentioned before. Maybe he didn't realize that the Lord's eyes was on him, all right, and he was just all right. So we got some business to handle tomorrow, or maybe he did know, and if he did know, man, hey, there's no way you got sleep that night. There's no way you got sleep that night. Okay, hearing the outcome. All right, you shall be burnt with fire, he and all that he had, because he had transgressed the covenant of the Lord Yahweh, and because he had wrought folly in Israel. If we didn't go into this before, when you go into the word covenant, right? Alliance, pledge between men, treaty, alliance, league. We jump down between God and men. All right, covenant, divine ordinances, signs, or pledges. All right, and so the Lord commanded them what to do and what not to do. That's the basic point. Okay, so we get down here at the bottom. All right, and it says, the sin of Achan. So Joshua rose up early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes early in the morning. All right, probably when the sun was going up, because you know how the sun's not fully up, but it starts to get bright outside. So he probably pulled the whole congregation together then, because this wasn't just a snap of a finger process. You have to understand that all the 12 tribes. And there are a lot of people amongst each of the tribes, man. Okay, so you had to have the time to get everyone up, all right, get everybody assembled, all right. You might have some women who had suckling child, so they whatever there was a lot to it, right? So this wasn't just a snap of the finger process, man. But that's probably why he got up early in the morning to do this, because he knew that this was going to take some time, man. All right, because you had to go through all the tribes, man. All right, because the way it sounds a lot more simpler than what it was. But if you imagine all the tribes standing, just imagine that you're Joshua and all the tribes are standing there before you, and you have to go through this process. There's 12 tribes and thousands and thousands of people, okay? And you have to go through all the 12 tribes. Yeah, that was a long process, man. It wasn't, we went out just sitting out there for 30 minutes, okay? This took some time, man. All right. So, um, as we continue here, it says, so Joshua rose up early in the morning and brought Israel by their tribes, and the tribe of Judah was taken. All right. So they're giving us the short version. All right. Or the scriptures are giving us a short version. And he brought the family of Judah. All right. It says, and he took the family of the Zarhites. Right. So that particular lineage of the Judites, right? Which I need to go into this. Let's see, Zerah, descendants of Zerah, rising, uh, twin brother Perez, sons of Judah and Tamar. Descendants are called Zarhites, Ezrahites, and Israhites, right? Because when you go into Judah Perez, you know that. I mean, not Judah Perez, but uh, 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 Perez and Zerah, all right? How that happened there with the ribbon that was tied around the one son and so on and so forth. But anyways, that's besides the point we're making here. So it says he brought the family of the Zarhites, and he brought the family of the family of. Oh, let me read that again. It says, and he brought the family of Judah, and he took the family of the Zarhites, and he brought the family of the Zarhites man by man. So the family of the Zarhites. Now each one of these men, they have their own family, right? So they have their own family tree, all right, amongst the Zarhites. So this is how intricate it was. That's why I said this wasn't a short process here. Because who knows? Maybe he didn't get to Judah until he checked the eighth tribe. Okay? Who knows? All right. So it says, man by man. And Zabdi was taken. So each of the heads of these families and their families, their family lineage of the tree, all right? And the one that was singled out was Zabdi, okay? Zabdi was taken. And he brought his household man by man, all right? And Zabdi was probably terrified, like, oh, no, I ain't do nothing, okay? Why me? But it wasn't Zabdi, because under Zabdi, there was more family. All right. Zabdi could have been, matter of fact, let's see what it says here. Okay, there we go. All right. Zabadiah, Zabadiah, endowment, son of Zerah and grandson of Judah. Grandfather, I was just about to mention, maybe his great grand, I was going to say great grandfather, but here it is right here. It says grandfather of Achan. See? So that's what I was talking about. Those family trees, man. All right. That family tree, and each because that grandfather, he's going to be the grandson of some other grandfather who was another branch of that house, and so on. So this is why it was such an intricate process, man. This was a major process of elimination. All right. So it says, and he brought his household man by man, and Achan the son of Carmi, the son of Zabdi, the son of Zerah of the tribe of Judah, was taken. So there you go. All right. So it really, this is a generation of men here, but he had to sever it out that way so he can find the exact culprit, right? Verse 9. Yeah, I read 18. Yeah, yep. Verse 19 says, and Joshua said unto Achan, my son, give, I pray thee, glory to the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, and make confession unto him, and tell me now what thou hast done. Hide it not from me. All right, just tell the truth. And now, was it going to save him? But it's better that he told the truth, right? Whether because you lie now you're going to die and you lie, all right? Whether you could just have told the truth, you're still going to be put to death, but at least you die, honorably, all right? So it says, and Achan answered Joshua and said, indeed, I have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, Bashmi Yahushua, power of Israel, and thus have I done. So he probably retold the whole account, right, before Joshua and all the children of Israel. Okay, because I'm pretty sure the assembly didn't go away, because when you read the rest of the account, everybody was still there watching, all right? Even if your tribe had already came up and it was no one out of your tribe, you were still standing there. You didn't just go back home to your tent, right? You were still standing there because this was a whole, a ceremony of all the Israelites, man. Okay. So it says, I have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, and thus have I done. So he told exactly what happened, man. We went to the city, I was doing this, I was doing that, I was slaughtering here. I went down this alleyway, nobody was there. I saw a door open, I went in there, and I saw it, I shouldn't have took it, but I took it anyways, and I stuffed it in my bag or whatever. All right. And I came back out and I killed a few more people, and I kind of went home and I buried it. All right. Now I'm not saying that's exactly what he did, but just trying to visualize the account, because it could happen any kind of way. All right. So it says, and Achan answered Joshua and said, indeed, I have sinned against the Lord Yahweh, power of Israel, and thus have I done. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonian garment and 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, I coveted them and took them. And behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. Now, once again, remember, mind you now, the Lord said all the gold, silver, I think it said brass or something like that, all right? Bronze or something, okay? Those things are okay, but not, these other things, because those things are to come into my treasury. So when it mentions the 200 shekels of silver and the wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, all right, he wasn't going off, all right, with the gold and the silver. Where he went off with the gold and the silver is that he took it to himself. These things were supposed to go into the Heavenly Father's treasury, not under his tent for himself. And then he added on top of that transgression, all right, because he also took a Babylonian garment, which that had nothing to do with anything. All right. But like I said, just because they're heathens don't mean that some of them don't dress nice. All right. With those ancient, like you see these ancient movies and stuff like that. They'll have these fancy garments. They have their trimmings with gold. They had, gems and jewels and things of that nature, on their garments and stuff like that. So just because they're heathens doesn't mean that they don't dress nice. So whatever kind of garment he saw must have been very nice, man. And he coveted it, and he wanted it for himself. So the problem wasn't with the gold and the silver. The problem was with the Babylonian garment. But where he went off with the gold and silver is that he also took that to himself, and he didn't bring it to the Lord's treasury. So when I saw among those, and that's the understanding that you have to have there, because you may read like we read in the last chapter, and I believe it's verse 18. It says take those. Let me just get it to make the point more clear. All right, actually it's verse 19. But all the silver and gold and vessels of brass and iron are consecrated to the Lord. They shall come into the Lord's treasury. You see. So the gold and silver wasn't wrong for him taking. It's just that when he took that gold and silver, he didn't bring it into the Lord's treasury. He kept it for himself under his tent. And then with the Babylonian garment, there was no rightful place with that. He just went totally off with that. When I saw among the spoils a goodly Babylonian garment and 200 shekels of silver and a wedge of gold of 50 shekels weight, then I coveted them and took them, and behold, they are hid in the earth in the midst of my tent, and the silver under it. So Joshua sent messengers, and they ran into the tent. All right. So he gave him cue. All right. So this is a con. All right. He told the truth of what he did. I want you to go to the tent and handle this. All right. And behold, it was hid in his tent, and the silver under it. And they took them out of the midst of the tent and brought them unto Joshua and unto all the children of Israel, and laid them before the Lord Yahweh. And Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan. Now remember, all right, it was a good thing that he told the truth at the end, but it wasn't going to save his life, because the Lord already, said what was going to happen. And Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah, and the silver, and the garment, and the wedge of gold, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his sheep, in his tent, his very house, right? His tent, okay? and all that he had, and they brought them unto the valley of Achor. Now, I'm not sure if we can find this, right? Oh, Achor, trouble, disturbance. Achor, as the valley of trouble, where Achan and his family were stoned. Okay, this is some fairy tale pictures here. Yeah, look, got some big ass rocks. So yeah, it's not really giving us a map here. And oh wait, supposedly that's the valley of Achor right there. So you see Jericho almost straight south of that, if that's the true location, because we're not really sure. There's another one, Valley of Achor. Now it's showing it, more south of Jericho. So, like I said, these maps just kind of give you a general idea of the area. Sometimes they'll be spot on. Sometimes, they'll just be wrong. That's two left shoes. All right. So it's okay. The point is what it says here. Joshua and all Israel with him took Achan, the son of Zerah, and the silver and the garment and the wedge of gold. All right. So because you made yourself cursed, all right, and your family with you because you took, all right, these things that you weren't supposed to take. Or really the Babylonian garment you wasn't supposed to take, but the gold and the silver was fine. You were just supposed to bring it to the Lord's treasury, which you also did not do. So even these the gold and silver, which was fine, is accursed along with you. Okay, so it took the silver and the gold, because I wouldn't want it either. All right, if I was living back then, and you saw this happen, like, man, I don't want to wait, because this is what in modern day people call superstitious, right? Talking about a breaking a glass in seven years bad luck, all that nonsense like that, walking under a ladder. That's basically what in modern day people would call a superstition. Like, hey, but in real life though, this is real life. That gold has now become a curse. That silver has now become a curse. All right. So hey, take it with him. All right. It says, and his sons, and his daughters, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent. Now, notice one thing it doesn't mention. It says his wife. So maybe he was, a single father. Maybe the mother already perished, at some point. Because if the Lord is destroying his whole family, why would he leave out his wife? So he's not going to do that. All right, because if he's going to spare the wife, in that case he should have spared all the family and everything else. All right, leave them with some substance and just destroy him. Right. So more than likely he was a single father. He was a single parent. All right, the mother maybe died at some point, because that means she would have been stoned too. And his asses, and his oxen, and his asses, and his sheep, and his tent, and all that he had, and they brought them unto the valley of Achor. Right. So it says, and Joshua said, why hast thou troubled us? The Lord Yahweh shall trouble thee this day. And all Israel stoned him with stones and burned him with fire after they had stoned him with stones. All right, which really, and it's not pinpoint accurate and exact, but if you go back to Deuteronomy the 21st chapter, right? Uh 21, we start at 20. And they shall say unto the elders of his city, this our son is stubborn and rebellious. He will not obey our voice. He is a glutton and a drunkard. And all the men of his city shall stone him with stones, that he die. And this is the point that I want to get to, because it says, so shalt thou put evil away from among you. And the main thing, and all Israel shall hear and fear. Because everybody watched. You had men, women, children. Of course, the babies don't know what's going on, but everybody was standing out there watching. All right. And whoever played a part in the stoning, stone them. Okay. Because all 12 tribes can't really just stone. Everybody just come by one at a time. It's possible. Okay, but there's a lot of people coming by one at a time, right? The stone, everything. But you get the point. However it played out, all right? Everybody watched, and everybody was afraid. All right. So this man was a warning, all right, that not to do this. All right. If the Lord tells you not to take anything, don't take anything. All right. And if he tells you to take a thing and to bring it to his treasury, you better bring it to his treasury. Don't try to keep it for yourself, because this you stole. This is what Esau did, all right? Because we bring that scripture out from time to time in Joel 3, all right? You taking my goodly pleasant things. You see, that's basically what Achan did. He took the Lord's goodly pleasant things. That gold and that wedge of gold and that silver, he found it. All right, cool. But it was supposed to be brought to the Lord's treasury. He wanted to get something before the Lord got something. Okay? So he not only tried to jump before the Lord, but he also disobeyed what the Lord had said to not take these things to yourself, to bring it to my treasury. And he did the exact opposite. See? So everything, man, everything he had, man, was now seen as a curse, and they stoned him. But wait, it's not done yet. It says what? And Joshua said, "Why hast thou troubled us? Yahweh shall trouble thee this day." And all Israel stoned him with stones and burned him with fire. See, that was saying. See, we don't have things like this going on today, which we can't because we're in captivity. But you get the point. If we could, there'd be a lot of more straightforward Israelites, man. It says, and burned them with fire after they had stoned them with stones. So they stoned them to death, and then uh, took the stone and their bodies under those stones, and then set them on fire. Everything he had, the gold, the silver, his tent they lived in, all right, his children, that Babylonian garment that he took, and all his cattle, everything, man, everything that he had, they stoned it. They stoned even the animals, everything. All right, threw stones on his tent, stone everything down in the valley of Achor, then set everything on fire, man. Right, that would be a terrifying sight. Okay. Then it says, after they had stoned him with stones, and they raised over him a great heap of stones unto this day. So the Lord Yahweh turned from the fierceness of his anger. Wherefore the name of the place was called the Valley of Achor unto this day. All right. So yeah, that's the end of that chapter, man. All right. So, Lord willing, you were edified. To next time, y'all, I'm going to say shalom.